On an ordinary day, in an ordinary supermarket, an ordinary man noticed something that everyone else ignored. A decision he made in 30 seconds saved a child's life. But nobody there imagined that that supermarket cashier was about to become an invisible hero. This is the story of Marcus Johnson, 42 years old, supermarket cashier for 15 years, father of 2 daughters, a man that everyone saw but nobody really looked at. Marcus worked at a supermarket in a quiet town in the countryside. Every day, the same tasks: scanning products, smiling, saying thank you, next customer. Thousands of faces, thousands of purchases, thousands of transactions. Nothing special. Or at least that's what everyone thought. Because Marcus had something that most people don't have. He paid attention. He observed. He cared. And on an ordinary Tuesday in October, that attention saved a life. Tuesday, mid-afternoon, 2:35 p.m. Marcus had been at his register for 4 hours. His shift had started at 10 a.m. and would end at 7 p.m. Another day, another 9 hours scanning groceries. He had served 87 customers that morning. He knew the exact number because the system counted. Cereal, milk, bread, diapers, fruit, always the same products, always the same superficial conversations. Did you find everything okay? Do you need bags? Have a great day. But Marcus was different. While his hands automatically scanned products, his eyes observed, always observed. He noticed the elderly lady who bought cat food but never had a cat. She was feeding stray animals. He perceived the young man who only bought instant noodles, probably a student without money. He saw the single mother who counted coins before picking up each item, and he discreetly forgot to charge for something. Marcus saw people, not just customers. And then, at 2:47 p.m., customer number 88 in line. A man, about 35 years old, well-dressed, dark jeans, light blue dress shirt, sunglasses even inside the supermarket. Nothing too strange so far. Marcus smiled as always. "Good afternoon, sir. How are you?" The man didn't respond, didn't make eye contact, put the purchases on the belt quickly. Marcus began scanning the items, and that's when something started to bother him. 2 packages of colorful candy, children's type, 3 comic books, a package of cookies with cartoon characters, 2 juice boxes, strawberry flavor, a small teddy bear. Marcus paused mentally. Children's products, he thought, and he continued scanning. 2 wet wipes, baby type, a package of bandages with children's characters, a box of chocolate, children's packaging. The man was alone. No wedding ring, no child with him, no stroller. "Preparing a birthday party?" Marcus asked casually, testing. "No," the man responded curtly. "Gifts for nephews?" "No." The man was visibly uncomfortable, sweating, looking around. Marcus felt a chill. Something was very wrong. Marcus didn't know yet, but he only had a few seconds to make the most important decision of his life, a decision that would change everything. Marcus continued scanning the products, but now each item was a piece of a disturbing puzzle. A children's movie DVD for kids 6 to 8 years old, a Barbie doll still in the box, a children's board game, and then a prepaid cell phone, cheap, disposable. Marcus froze for half a second. Disposable phone, children's products, man alone, nervous, not making eye contact. He had worked at that supermarket for 15 years. He knew patterns. He knew behaviors. Parents buying for children talked about them. "My daughter loves this doll. My son goes crazy for this game." Aunts and uncles buying gifts asked about gift wrapping, asked for special bags. Grandparents buying for grandchildren smiled, told stories. "It's for my grandson's birthday." This man? None of that. Just nervousness, hurry, avoidance. And there was one more detail. Marcus noticed that the man had looked back 3 times toward the parking lot, as if he were waiting for someone or checking if anyone was following him. Total $127.43, Marcus said, but his mind was elsewhere. The man paid in cash, $20 bills, exactly $140, didn't wait for change. "Keep the change," he said hurriedly. "Sir, that's more than $12 in change," Marcus insisted. "It doesn't matter, just give me the bags." And then Marcus saw it. On the man's wrist when he grabbed the bags, there was a scratch, recent, like marks from small fingernails, from a child. Marcus had seconds. The man was already turning to leave. His mind was working at maximum speed. What if I'm wrong? What if he really is a father, an uncle? What if I accuse him and cause terrible embarrassment? But what if he was right? Marcus thought of his 2 daughters, Emma, 9 years old, Sophie, 7 years old. What would he do if it were them? He looked around. The manager was in the office. The security guard was on the other side of the store. The other cashiers were busy. Nobody had noticed anything, only him. And the man was already 5 steps from the door. Marcus made the bravest decision of his life. "Sir," he shouted, standing up from the cashier's chair. "Sir, you forgot something." The man stopped, turned around, irritated. "I didn't forget anything." "The receipt, sir. I need you to sign the receipt. It's store policy for purchases over $100. This wasn't true, but Marcus needed time. The man hesitated. Marcus saw panic in his eyes. "I don't need to. I already paid." "It's mandatory, sir. State law for tax control. It'll only take a second." A lie, but a necessary lie. While the man reluctantly returned, Marcus did something that would change everything. With his left hand, he picked up the register phone. With his right, discreetly under the counter, he pressed the silent emergency button. A button that alerted security and automatically dialed the police. Marcus didn't know what would happen next, but he knew he couldn't let that man leave the store. What Marcus didn't know was that at that exact moment, just 200 meters away, an 8-year-old girl named Emily was being desperately searched for by her mother. Emily had disappeared 40 minutes ago from the school playground. The man returned to the register, clearly nervous. Marcus could see sweat running down his forehead. "Quick," the man said through clenched teeth. Marcus pretended to look for a non-existent form. "Just a moment, sir. I need to find the correct form." "I don't have time for this." "I understand, sir, but it's procedure." "Oh, by the way, who are these gifts for?" The question caught the man off guard. "What?" "The children's gifts. Who are they for? Son? Nephew? Just curious." The man swallowed hard. It's for a friend's daughter." "How nice. How old is she?" 9 years old. Marcus noticed the hesitation. "Does she have a nice name?" "Sarah. Her name is Sarah." Marcus made a mental note. The man was making it up. With each question, more nervous. Where was security? Marcus glanced discreetly at the entrance. Nothing. "Do you have children?" Marcus continued, keeping the conversation going. "No. Look, enough questions already. Where's that damn form?" That's when Marcus saw it. Through the glass doors at the front, a car, silver Toyota Camry, engine running, dark windows. And in the back seat, he swore he saw movement, small, like a child. His heart raced. Mike Torres, store security guard, received the silent alert on his radio. Code yellow, register 3, possible situation. Mike was an ex-cop, 25 years of service before retiring. He knew Marcus. He knew Marcus would never press that button without reason. He approached casually, pretending to check the shelves near the register. Marcus made eye contact with him, a look that said everything. "Careful, this man is dangerous." "Everything okay here, Marcus?" Mike asked, approaching. Oh, Mike, good thing you're here. I'm looking for the form for, that special form for large purchases. Mike got the message. There was no form. Marcus was buying time. Excuse me, sir, Mike said to the man. May I see your identification? Why? The man exploded. I already paid. I just want to leave. Routine, sir. Store procedure. This is ridiculous. You can't keep me here. And then the man made the worst possible move. He grabbed the bags and started running toward the exit. Mike didn't hesitate. With years of police training, he blocked the way. Sir, stop. The man tried to push Mike. Fatal mistake. In seconds, Mike had the man immobilized on the floor. The bags scattered. The children's products rolled across the floor. And something else fell from the man's pocket. A cell phone. But not the prepaid one he had bought. Another cell phone. When it fell, the screen lit up. Marcus saw it, and his blood ran cold. The phone screen showed a photo. A girl, about 8 years old, brown hair, smiling, wearing a school uniform. And below the photo, a message, "On my way, 15 minutes." Marcus looked at the clock. That had been sent 12 minutes ago. There was a child in danger now. Customers stopped. Some people screamed. An elderly lady called the police, not knowing they were already on their way. Mike kept the man on the ground. You have the right to remain silent. Marcus didn't wait. He ran out of the supermarket. The silver Camry was still there, engine running, dark windows. Marcus approached. His heart was beating so hard he could hear it in his ears. He looked through the rear window and saw a girl, maybe 8 years old, brown hair, school clothes, gag in her mouth, hands tied, eyes wide with terror. The same girl from the phone photo. "Oh, God," Marcus whispered. He tried to open the door. Locked. The girl looked at him, tears streaming. She shook her head desperately, trying to ask for help. Marcus didn't think twice. He grabbed a rock from the nearby planter and broke the car window. The alarm went off. A shrill sound filled the parking lot. Marcus opened the door, got in, and quickly removed the girl's gag. "It's okay," he said, his voice trembling. "It's okay now. You're safe." The girl started to cry, not from fear, from relief. He took me," she sobbed. "When I was going home, he said my mom had asked him to pick me up. He said she was in the hospital." Marcus felt anger, an anger like he had never felt before. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Emily. Emily Rodriguez." "Emily, you are very brave, very brave. I'm going to take you to your mom now, okay?" Sirens, police arriving. 2 patrol cars entered the parking lot at high speed. Marcus carried Emily out of the car. She grabbed his neck tightly. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for saving me." And it was at that moment that Marcus realized. His hands were shaking. His legs could barely support him. He had just saved a child's life. A supermarket cashier, an invisible hero. But the story was far from over. What the police discovered about that man would shock the entire city. And Marcus's decision would have consequences that no one could imagine. The man was identified as Richard Allen Crawford, 38 years old, no criminal record, worked as a programmer, lived alone in an apartment 15 kilometers away. To all the neighbors, he was normal, quiet, polite, a nice guy, they said. But when the police raided his apartment 2 hours later, what they found changed everything. The detective from the Crimes Against Minors Division led the investigation. When we entered the apartment, she would later report, we found a locked room. When we forced entry, we found a nightmare. A completely prepared room, children's bed, toys, children's clothes, cameras hidden in the walls, and a computer. What was on that computer made even experienced investigators feel nauseated. Thousands of photos, dozens of videos, a chat history on dark web forums. Richard Allen Crawford was not an ordinary criminal. He was a calculating predator who meticulously planned his crimes. Emily was not his first intended victim. She was the 8th. The other 7 children, their photos were on the computer, all between 6 and 9 years old, all photographed in public places, parks, schools, supermarkets. He followed them, studied them, waited for the right moment. And if it weren't for Marcus, Emily would have been the first one he would have succeeded in taking. The investigation revealed the extent of the horror. Crawford had been watching Emily for 3 weeks. He knew her routine. He knew she walked 2 blocks from school to home. He knew that on Tuesdays she left 15 minutes early. He had parked the silver Camry near the school. He approached Emily when she was alone. He said her mother had called, that she had been hurt, that he was a family friend. Emily, being a polite and trusting child, believed him. He put her in the car, said they were going straight to the hospital, but instead he stopped in a deserted place and gagged and tied her up. The plan? Take her to the apartment, keep her there, and, no, I won't describe the rest. You can imagine the horror. But Crawford made a mistake, a crucial mistake. He needed supplies, toys to keep the child calm, food she would like, bandages in case she got hurt while resisting. And he went to a supermarket, an ordinary supermarket, where an ordinary cashier paid attention. The detective later said, Marcus Johnson gave us a gift. He didn't just save Emily. He led us to a predator who had been active for years, a predator who would have continued. How many children did Marcus save by stopping this man? We'll never know, but it certainly wasn't just one. Crawford confessed everything. When confronted with the evidence from the computer, he broke down. He was sentenced to 7 consecutive life sentences, without possibility of parole. Maria Rodriguez was beside herself when she realized Emily hadn't come home. She had called the police at 3:15 p.m. Emily should have been home at 3:10 p.m. Only 5 minutes late, but Maria already knew something was wrong. Emily was never late. When the police called saying they had found Emily, Maria collapsed. From relief, from terror, from gratitude. She ran to the police station where Emily was being examined by doctors. The reunion was, there are no words. Maria grabbed her daughter, and the two cried for 20 minutes straight. Emily was physically unharmed. Crawford hadn't had time to hurt her. But the psychological trauma, that would take time to heal. A week later, Maria looked for Marcus at the supermarket. She entered with Emily by the hand. She waited in his line specifically, even though there were other cashiers available. The detective later said, Marcus Johnson gave us a gift. He didn't just save Emily. He led us to a predator who had been active for years, a predator who would have continued. How many children did Marcus save by stopping this man? We'll never know, but it certainly wasn't just one. Crawford confessed everything. When confronted with the evidence from the computer, he broke down. He was sentenced to 7 consecutive life sentences without possibility of parole. Maria Rodriguez was beside herself when she realized Emily hadn't come home. She had called the police at 3:15 p.m. Emily should have been home at 3:10 p.m. Only 5 minutes late, but Maria already knew something was wrong.
Emily was never late. When the police called saying they had found Emily, Maria collapsed. From relief, from terror, from gratitude. She ran to the police station where Emily was being examined by doctors. The reunion was... there are no words. Maria grabbed her daughter, and the two cried for 20 minutes straight. Emily was physically unharmed. Crawford hadn't had time to hurt her, but the psychological trauma, that would take time to heal. A week later, Maria looked for Marcus at the supermarket. She entered with Emily by the hand. She waited in his line specifically, even though there were other cashiers available.
When it was her turn, Maria said nothing at first. She just looked at Marcus, tears in her eyes. "You saved my daughter," she finally said, her voice breaking. Marcus didn't know what to say. I just did what anyone would do." "No," Maria shook her head. "No. There were dozens of people in this store that day. You were the only one who paid attention, the only one who cared enough to act." Emily, who was holding her mother's hand, looked at Marcus. "Thank you for saving me, Mr. Marcus." Marcus crouched down to be at her height. "Emily, you were very brave, braver than me." "You're my hero," Emily said simply. And then she did something Marcus would never forget. She let go of her mother's hand, walked to the other side of the register, and hugged Marcus. A tight hug, from a child who was alive because of him. Marcus hugged back, and for the first time that entire week, he allowed himself to cry. Marcus's story should have ended there. A hero, recognition, happy ending. But what happened next was something no one expected, and it would change Marcus's life forever. The news spread, first locally, then nationally. Supermarket cashier saves child from predator. Unlikely hero prevents kidnapping. Attentive employee saves 8-year-old girl. Marcus was invited to TV shows. Newspapers wanted interviews. City Hall wanted to give him a Medal of Honor. And Marcus refused everything. "I'm not a hero," he said repeatedly. "I just did my job." But people didn't accept that. To them, Marcus was a hero, an invisible hero who was finally being seen. The supermarket manager saw an opportunity. "Marcus, you're the face we need. We want to promote you. Head of security, better salary. You deserve it." Marcus thanked her but declined. "I like being a cashier. I like seeing people. That's where I can make a difference." This confused many people. Who refuses a promotion? Who refuses fame? Marcus refused because for him it wasn't about fame. It never was. But the attention brought something unexpected. Other stories began to emerge. A woman called the local radio station, telling her story. 3 years ago, I was in a domestic violence situation. My husband controlled me, wouldn't let me have money. One day, I went to the supermarket with him. Marcus was the cashier. He noticed the marks on my arm, noticed that my husband wouldn't let me speak. When my husband went to the bathroom, Marcus discreetly gave me a paper with the number of a women's shelter. That paper saved my life. I got out of that situation because of him. Another man wrote to the newspaper. "I was in deep depression, planning to take my life. I went to the supermarket to buy the last things I needed. Marcus was my cashier. He looked at me and asked if I was okay. I said yes. He said, 'No, seriously, are you okay?' Something in his voice made me break down. I started crying right there." Another man wrote to the newspaper. "I was in deep depression, planning to take my life. I went to the supermarket to buy the last things I needed. Marcus was my cashier. He looked at me and asked if I was okay. I said yes. He said, 'No, seriously, are you okay?' Something in his voice made me break down. I started crying right there."
Marcus stopped attending customers, sat with me for 20 minutes, and convinced me to call a suicide prevention hotline. Today, 3 years later, I'm alive because of those 20 minutes. The stories kept appearing, dozens of them, hundreds. The security guard who noticed a man drugging a woman's drink and called the police. The cashier who realized an elderly woman was being scammed by con artists. The cashier who offered food to a mother who didn't have enough money to feed her children. For 15 years, Marcus had been an invisible hero. Not once, not twice, but constantly. And nobody had noticed, until now. But who was Marcus Johnson? Why did he do this? In a quiet conversation, away from the cameras and spotlights he so avoided, he shared his story. "Why do you pay so much attention to people?" someone asked. Marcus was silent for a moment. He stirred his coffee, and then told a story he rarely shared. "When I was 12 years old," he began, "my younger sister Jennifer was 8 years old. One day, she was playing in the park near our house. My mother asked me to keep an eye on her, but I was talking with friends. I didn't pay attention. A man approached her, tried to take her. Luckily, a gardener who worked there saw. He shouted, ran, the man fled. My sister was fine, but—" Marcus paused. His voice got lower. "Since that day, I remember that gardener's face. A simple man, a worker, probably earned minimum wage. Nobody would normally notice him. But he saved my sister. He paid attention when I didn't. That gardener is my hero. I don't even know his name, but every time I see a child, a person in need, someone in danger, I think of him. And I think, if I were him, would I have paid attention? Would I have acted? Being a supermarket cashier gives me that. It gives me the chance to pay attention, to see people, to maybe, in some small moment, do what that gardener did for my family." Marcus looked out the window and smiled slightly. "You know what's funny? People call me a hero now, but I always thought heroes were special people, extraordinary, people with powers, with resources, with recognition. But I learned something in these 15 years as a cashier, that heroes are just ordinary people who decide to care, who decide to pay attention, who decide to act when it would be easier to do nothing. The gardener who saved my sister? Hero. The nurse who stays 5 extra minutes to comfort a patient? Hero. The teacher who notices a student is being abused at home? Hero. The bus driver who waits for an elderly person to cross the street? Hero. Invisible heroes are everywhere. We just need to see them." Marcus's story had an effect no one expected. Supermarkets across the country started training programs. How to identify suspicious situations, signs of human trafficking, recognizing predatory behavior. Not just supermarkets, gas stations, restaurants, hotels, any place where workers interact with the public.
Marcus was invited to help develop these programs. This time, he accepted. "If my story can train 1,000 people to pay attention," he said, "then maybe we can save 1,000 children." The program was implemented in several states. In 2 years, it resulted in 127 successful interventions. Children saved, predators captured, human trafficking victims rescued. All because a supermarket cashier decided to pay attention. Emily Rodriguez speaks at schools about child safety. She always ends her talks the same way. Heroes don't wear capes. Sometimes they wear supermarket uniforms. Sometimes they're invisible, until we pay attention. So, what can we learn from Marcus Johnson's story? First, heroism is not about strength or power. It's about paying attention and caring. Marcus wasn't a police officer. He wasn't a martial arts fighter. He didn't have special training. He had something more powerful. He cared. Second, never underestimate the power of your position. Marcus could have thought, "I'm just a cashier. I can't make a difference." But he made a difference every day for 15 years.
Are you a teacher? You have the power to notice a child being abused. Are you a bus driver? You can see someone in danger. Are you a waiter? You can perceive a situation of violence. Are you a salesperson? You can identify suspicious behavior. Your position doesn't define your impact. Your attention does. Third, trust your instincts. Marcus felt something was wrong. He could have ignored it. It's not my problem. I'm probably wrong. I don't want to create a scene. But he trusted his instinct, and he saved a life. If something seems wrong, it probably is wrong. Don't ignore it. Don't minimize it. Don't be afraid to act. And fourth, you never know the full impact of your actions. Marcus thought he was just saving Emily, but he was. Stopping a serial predator, inspiring thousands of workers, creating national training programs, changing security policies, giving hope to countless families. One act, one moment, infinite consequences. Where are they now 5 years later? Emily Rodriguez is 13 years old. She's in therapy, but she's doing well. Strong, brave. She wants to be a child psychologist when she grows up, to help other children who have been through trauma. She visits Marcus every month, not at the supermarket. Marcus retired last year, but they keep in touch. She calls him Uncle Marcus. He goes to her soccer games, to her piano recitals. Maria Rodriguez became a child safety activist. She leads workshops for parents on how to teach children to recognize dangerous situations. Mike Torres, the security guard, still works at the supermarket. He trains new employees, and he always emphasizes, pay attention. You might be the only hero someone will meet today. Richard Allen Crawford is in prison, without possibility of parole. He will never see the light of day free again. And Marcus?
Marcus Johnson, 47 years old now, finally accepted the title he always rejected. Yes, he says now when asked, I am a hero, but not the hero. I'm a hero, one of thousands, of millions, of ordinary people doing extraordinary things every day. He gives talks occasionally, always for free, always with the same message. You don't need a cape. You don't need superpowers. You just need to pay attention, care, and act. Marcus's story is extraordinary, but it's not unique. There's the teacher who noticed a student was rapidly losing weight and discovered he was going hungry at home. She discreetly started bringing extra snacks by accident every day. There's the Uber driver who realized his passenger was being followed. He pretended the car broke down, called the police, and saved the woman from a violent stalker. There's the pharmacy attendant who noticed an elderly man was buying incompatible medications. She called his doctor and discovered he was the victim of a medical scam. There's the hotel receptionist who noticed signs of human trafficking and called authorities, rescuing 3 teenagers. Invisible heroes, everywhere, every day. The difference between a tragedy and a rescue is often simply someone who was paying attention. So, why do we tell Marcus Johnson's story? Not just to celebrate him, although he deserves celebration. Not just to show courage, although he was brave. We tell his story to remind you of something important. You matter. Your position matters. Your work matters. Your attention matters. You might be serving coffee, driving a taxi, sweeping streets, answering phones. But you're in a unique position. You see things. You interact with people. You have opportunities. Opportunities to notice, to care, to act. Marcus didn't save Emily because he was special. He saved her because he was present, attentive, willing to act. And you? You could be someone's Marcus today, tomorrow, next week. That strange person at the register, maybe they're planning something terrible. That child who's too quiet, maybe they're being abused. That coworker who's different, maybe they're considering suicide. That neighbor with marks on her arm, maybe she needs help.
Pay attention, care, act. You don't need to be a hero to be heroic. You just need to be present. This was the story of Marcus Johnson, a supermarket cashier, a father, an ordinary man, an invisible hero. And maybe, just maybe, this is your story too. Because invisible heroes are everywhere. They always have been. Sometimes they just need someone to pay attention. And sometimes they just need courage to act. Marcus had both. And you? If this story touched you, reflect on the people around you. Who are the invisible heroes in your life? That person who always asks if you're okay. That worker who always has a smile. That person who pays attention when everyone ignores. Recognize them, thank them, learn from them. And more importantly, be one of them.
Because the world doesn't need more indifferent people. The world needs more people like Marcus. People who pay attention. People who care. People who act. Every hero deserves to be seen. Every story deserves to be told. Every life saved deserves to be celebrated. Marcus Johnson started as an invisible cashier. He ended as an unforgettable hero. Not because he changed, but because finally someone paid attention. And now the question remains. When it's your turn, when you see something wrong, when you notice someone in danger, when you notice a detail everyone ignores, will you act? Will you be someone's invisible hero? Marcus made that choice in 30 seconds and changed a life forever. What will your choice be? This was the story of an invisible hero, but maybe it's just the beginning of yours. Because heroes are everywhere. They always have been. Sometimes they just need someone to pay attention. And sometimes they just need courage to act. Marcus had both. And you? The end.